Hello, this is Phil Vickers coming to you with another brief devotion on this July 8th. I've been thinking of a passage today from Matthew's Gospel. This is Matthew chapter 6, beginning in verse 25, and this is Jesus speaking. That is why I'm telling you not to worry about your life, about what you eat, nor about your body and what you are to wear. Surely life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Look at the birds in the sky. They do not sow or reap or gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they are? Can any of you, however much you worry, add a single cubit to your span of life? And why worry about clothing? Think of the flowers growing in the fields. They never spin or work, yet I assure you that not even Solomon, in all his royal robes, was clothed like one of these. Now, if that is how God clothes the wild flowers growing in the field, which are there today and thrown into the furnace tomorrow, will he not much more look after you, you who have so little faith? So do not worry. Do not say, what are we to eat? What are we to drink? What are we to wear? It is the Gentiles who set their hearts on these things. Your heavenly Father knows you need them all. Set your heart on his kingdom first and on God's saving justice, and all these other things will be given to you as well. So do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough trouble on its own. One of the reasons I think this text came to mind is because it does seem in these days of 2020 that it is more true than usual that each day has enough trouble of its own. And there is a lot of worry in our families, in our churches, in our communities about how things are going to be, how things are going to change. And in the midst of this teaching, Jesus says multiple times, do not worry. Now, I don't think Jesus is suggesting some kind of irresponsible view of the future. Every day we do something that's geared towards the future. From washing the dishes to planting a flower to starting a savings account. And all that's well and good until we cross that line into anticipating trouble constantly, which is what we call worry. And Jesus says, don't do this, almost as a commandment. Do not worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble on its own. And as part of this advice, he talks about where our hearts are set. And highlights that our hearts can become set on minutia, on very limited things. Our hearts can be set on things that don't bring vitality into our lives. We can become fixated on minor points and worry about them, and it can disrupt our ability to live the fullness of the life God is calling us to. So it's a good question to ask ourselves, on what things are our hearts set? Are they set wholesomely? And are the things our hearts are set on bringing worry into our lives? And how can we prayerfully begin to change that and set our hearts more rightly? This is a time of anxiety, and we should not feel guilty if we feel anxiety. God does not frown upon us if we have a lack of faith, even as he says in today's text, but rather reminds us that it is possible to set our hearts more wholesomely on God's kingdom and God's saving justice, as he talks about. When these things are the most important things in our lives, everything else takes its proper place, even our view of the future. And we can begin to anticipate the future in a more wholesome way, knowing that God is already at tomorrow. We just haven't caught up with him yet. When we get to tomorrow, God will be there to sustain us, just as God is in this day to sustain us. I hope that you are well, both in your body and in your mind and in your spirit in these days. And may God remind you of his presence in ways both small and great. Thank you for listening.